So we're back, and we're redoing one what we did yesterday, which was tips on improving your riding. And when I say your riding, we're talking about all you guys out there on the other side of this camera, and our audience subscribers and hopefully new subscribers. So improving your riding. One of the main things that's always helped me in riding improvement would be being able to describe what I do, how I do it, and visualize it in my head without a camera. I have found over the years, though, by not videoing myself, I had a vision of something I was doing, and it looked perfect, it looked great, it looked nice. It wasn't, okay? So the camera doesn't lie, just like I'm sitting here right now. The camera doesn't lie. So to describe my riding, I'll do it very quick and as quick as I can. Simple. I'm a advanced rider. I'm not an expert rider, but I'm advanced. I have flaws, I make mistakes. My mistakes generally made have to do with range of motion, timing, intensity, duration, and I'm saying a lot of things that we would say as an instructor intuitively to a student, only so you start to hear these things because we'll use them in the winter when we do our demos for you guys, all right? So as a rider, I have a pretty good shape toe side, and I have a pretty good body movement that blends on my toe side. On my heel side, I am not as perfectly symmetrical. There's an issue with either my entry of the turn at the top. I could be lacking some motion or position. I could be late on initiation. I'm not positive, or I could be hanging on too long and start to teardrop that shape, and it's no longer elliptical. There's a lot of breaking at the bottom. On a good day with great snow, hey, I can do some great things on both sides. But when snow gets a little more difficult, my movement gets a little more difficult. I'm sure that happens to all of us on the other side of the camera. So there I've just described my riding. Those were my pros and those are some of my cons, things that I suffer with, and I know that without actually videoing them. So for anybody out there on the other side, we suggest to you, both Ted and I suggest to you that number one, you start to video yourself. See it on camera. Okay, and Ted's going to join me here in a minute. I'm going to slide over while we continue to talk. So we'll see it on camera, and then if you don't have a camera, you cannot do this by yourself, we're basically saying. It will take another rider being with you, which is why Ted and I ride together a lot and work on our own skills, because I can watch him, give him feedback. Now, one of the reasons I can give him feedback is because I have knowledge on the subject matter to give them feedback. So if you don't have friends who are good riders and also have knowledge, the lack of knowledge will not help you as a rider. So I'll let Ted jump in a little bit and kind of we talked about video, we talked about having the knowledge, and he'll pick it up right here.
So when we talk to each other, and we're doing this on a video, but we both speak English. And not only do sort of, and not only that, but some of the words we use and some of the jargon we use, they're things that are in the game. So again, if you wanted to learn from somebody, you want to be able to understand them. So if they say something to you, I don't know what you just said, you have to ask. And it's always, if you don't understand something, ask. You know, if you see something you don't recognize it, ask. And a lot of times you can get great explanations. It clears things up. The other part is that, you know, I've come to this later in life than Jim did. He learned it when he was younger.
Yeah, I was 50.
He was.
That's early in life for us.
Yeah. I was much closer to 60 when I learned. And the struggle, again, is a kind of, it's an adult struggle. It's not a kid that flops, bangs himself, gets up, dusts off, and goes again, or, you know, it doesn't get frustrated as badly.
I'm going in. I got some cobwebs, man.
Yeah.
I need to let them settle here. I rang my bell.
Yeah, that too. I mean, we both come in and, where am I right now? Well, you're up in the break room. Okay. Yeah, so that's another facet. So be nice to yourself. It's not a question of you going out beating yourself to learn it. And you don't beat children either, and you don't beat the youngsters when you do it. This is the proposition of learning is how am I comfortable learning? You know, what are the things I bring to it? What's my style of learning?
Which we mentioned in another video.
Mentioned before, and you know, what am I paying attention to, and what can we speak to one another at, and say, you know, that last run sucked. I don't know why it sucked, but what did you see?
So I'm going to jump in before I lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Ted hit a word. He said comfortable.
Yeah.
So I want to back up to the word comfortable. When you're struggling with a movement, heel side, toe side, initiation, finish of the turn, or whatever it may be, you may find that the terrain you're on was part of the problem.
Yeah.
Part of the problem. Or the quality of the snow that day, whatever. So, terrain, quality of snow, what does that mean? I have to move down the mountain, and I don't mean down that run, but maybe down onto a run that isn't challenging me so much, so I can start to learn this. Nothing is learned by continuing to hammer it on the hills that are already having problems with. So moving down the mountain, going back to a green run, something mellow, something comfortable, where the fear factor has dropped, and that's part of it too. Or my confidence level has come up because it has dropped. All of that will help you to be able to focus on the changes you're trying to make. And we'll say another thing. So Ted, let's real quick as you can, where do we see changes that we think are effective and find out, whoa, I guess not, most predominantly, working with a student?
The student only responds when we're hanging out.
There you go.
So you're speaking to somebody, hey, you know, and you're coaching as you're riding, maybe.
Coaching, mentoring,
and you're
big
saying,
brother, whatever.
You're saying, okay, bend your knees a little more, yada, yada. And they're hearing your voice, and you're getting a response, and people are doing things, and it works pretty well at the end. And at the end, you might ask, and for the feedback loop, and say, well, how'd that feel? And they say, oh, yeah, it felt pretty good. And then you leave them alone, and two things will happen. One, they'll go to a harder slope and try it again.
And go back to flailing.
And they're out of their comfort zone. And what happens? And you end up, I've experienced, you end up holding on with your fingers because you're in the wrong zone. So that happens. And the others, you know, they just forget, or they were only there and it only worked while you were coaching because it hasn't taken effect yet, because Perfect. It needs more practice.
Perfect. So I jump in now because he just hit the topic.
Yeah.
And the topic was, we turned the light on during the intuitive time period. After we left, the light was no longer on. So we turn the light on. That's what we're trying to do with you guys out there. Turn the light on. But the only way the light stays on is that when you continue to practice and go back to what you have, and don't let muscle memory and brain memory or standardization in your ride come back and take over that new element that you're trying to find. We suffer with that. I suffer with it. Ted suffers with it. Everybody suffers with it. So you need to do what to make all this work? The last word, the P word, is to do what?
It is a practice. It's
there
a practice. A real quick funny story. I got in some lessons that I was taking in a snow school. Our instructor said, there's a beautiful spot. You guys go, just let it all out and do it. So we all go down and we did it. And she came up, she goes, those were beautiful turns. That's the best turns I've seen you make, yada, yada. And you're all doing correct technical things. And yeah. And at the end, one of the guys turns to the instructor and he goes, now that we did it right, can we go back to riding the way we used to? I thought she was going to kill him. I thought she was going to tear him up. I mean, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. For me, it was like, wow, it did feel great. It really did. And it was nice to get a compliment. It was nice to get the feedback. And it was nice to know that I was doing what I was being taught to do. And here's the results. Cause and effect, you know, and now go out and practice that. Practice that. Not put it away and go, yeah.
Okay, I'm done with that.
Now I'll go back.
I'm done with that.
Now I'll go back and I'll get all the weird shit I was doing before. That was pretty funny. But
Yep.
Don't do that.
We're going to jump on to the end of this and say, a number of points were brought out. The word feedback has been said a number of times here during this video. I will tell you this, if you don't have a camera and you don't have a friend with you, you can still get feedback. Look at your tracks. From the time you start to turn to the time you finish the turn, you'll be able to see where you had little edge, more edge. You'll be able to see where pressure was distributed either earlier or later. The snow is white. It does not lie. We make mistakes, but the snow does not lie. So with that, we hope you like this video. You will subscribe, hit the like button, comment, help us out, get ready for winter. We hope that we're 80 some odd days away. Could be 90, but I don't like that figure. 80 or less, and we should be rolling. How, when, why, what chair, how many days we'll be allowed, can't answer it, but we'll get back to you when it happens. Later.
Yeah. And don't get nuts on the first day. Take it easy.